Hello everyone and welcome. So today what we are going to talk about is job interviews. And I have prepared for you a free course. This free course about the 5 biggest mistakes that I see constantly people doing at job interviews. So I want you to really take notes of these 5 mistakes, because chances are you might be doing one or several of them. And if that's the case, then you're missing out on amazing career opportunities because of these few mistakes. So let's begin. My name is Hamza Zawali, and I'm a career coach. I'm the founder of Iris Executives, a recruitment company, and Name Your Career, which is a job search coaching company. Okay, so mistake number one is really not giving examples. So many times I would conduct interviews, sometimes as an employer, or my clients would, and people would say, employers would ask, okay, so have you ever done this, or have you ever conducted this type of research, or have you ever achieved this, or have you ever... And people say, yeah, I used to do that a lot. I've done it a lot of times. This is part of my job, of course. I'm very comfortable with that. Now, this is a big mistake, because you see, everyone can say that. And you're not giving the employer the ability to actually analyze the way you do it, the how you do it, okay? So you've got to give examples. It's not about yes or no. He actually saw that you can do this or that on your CV. What's important is to tell him how you did it. So for example, I remember once I was faced with exactly the same challenge and blah 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 blah. Do you see what I mean? Typical mistakes about that is that sometimes instead of examples, candidates want to give lessons, so they use you. You've got to, because you've got to, and you have to, and that's annoying, because we don't know if the candidate has done that, but instead he's actually lecturing on how it should be done. So of course we don't know if you have experienced similar situations. Be very careful. Give specific examples. Have transition phrases like, I remember once I had to do that and this is how I did it, or I used to do it every time. The last time I've done it was Do you see what I mean? Because he wants to, through your story, he wants to analyze the way you do it. He wants to observe. He wants to watch you. Your stories, your example, are what is called experience. So he's looking for experience, not answers, whether or not you did it. So in order to prepare for your job interview, one of the things that you can do is to take each bullet point of the skill set, etc., and to prepare an example. Beware. Prepare a lot of examples, because the more examples you give, and the more the employer will be reassured that you have indeed been through all of these challenges, situations, etc., and you have explained how you behaved. He can look at your soft skills, your attitude during these situations, during your example, etc. So it's a great way to do it, okay? Mistake number two is a common one, is just saying, well, I can adapt, or I can learn, to anything that you don't know. So for example, hey, have you ever had any experience in this market, or have you ever used this tool, or have you ever implemented this type of project? And people say, well, no, but I can learn. I always learned, and I can learn, or I can adapt. I'm very adaptable, or whatever. Don't fall into this trap. This does not convince the employer. Okay, what's important is that you use a method that I call feel, felt, found. I'm going to tell you quickly, but there is a better video on YouTube. If you go to my channel, there's a better video about feel, felt, found on my YouTube channel. If you go to Name Your Career, that's the name of my channel, okay? So let's say he says you don't have any experience in UAE, or you don't have any experience in this industry, or you don't have any experience in this tool, or whatever. This is common. Of course it's going to happen. And how you answer is very important. Feel, felt, found is what I always advise. So feel, felt, found is to, number one, make him feel that you understand him. So for example, just say, I understand your question. In fact, my previous manager felt exactly the same way. Now you see, we moved from feel, I feel you, to felt. Felt exactly the same way when he first hired me, or when he first appointed me to deal with blah 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 project, which I had no previous experience at all. And he trusted me. What he found was that after 6 months, I was able to not only deliver this project on time, but on top of this, I was able to actually conduct a high-level presentation to the CEO at the strategic level and advise the board of directors about the sort of continuity of about this project. I mastered my topic so much, I delivered the project so well that they were very much keen on listening to what I had to say about the strategy, which was truly an honor. So you see, what I'm doing here is that I understand your question, I appreciate your question. Felt, in fact, you're not the only one, and I'm going to pick on an experience where I had, with an employer, a manager, whoever, where I had to do something for the first time. Okay, it could be using a tool, a new market, whatever new, and I'm going to say, hey, you know what, he gave me a shot and this is what happened, the result. This is what he found. He found that I performed very, very well at this. Okay, so feel, felt, found. I hope it makes sense. And again, if you want a better example, more example on this, just have a look at the YouTube channel, Name Your Career, and you will find quite a few videos, but this one is particularly, liked, obviously, by those who watch it. Okay. Mistake number three. Mistake number three is, again, a classic one. Please don't fall into this trap. Bad mouthing. Now, you see, the thing with bad mouthing is that a lot of people think they're not bad mouthing, but in fact they are. Okay, so they say things like, I didn't agree with his management style. Well, look, you are a bad mouthing manager, and you see, if I was a manager myself, interviewing you for a job where you would work with me, I would worry about that sentence, okay? And I wouldn't feel comfortable hiring someone like this. Be very careful. I would always bring this to me and say, what if he speaks like this with me? I knew more than him. Again, you see, you're not, disrespecting your manager here or your previous employer, but saying that you knew more than him makes me, is there any ego in this? What's the matter with knowing more than your manager? Okay, so, or I had more experience than him. Be very careful on these subtle phrases that people say without knowing, and that, sometimes don't make the employer reassured about hiring them. Or he was a little bit of a micromanager. Look, I loved him to bits, but he was a little bit of a micromanager and I hate it. I want to make sure that, the people I work with, they understand that I work best when I'm left alone. Well, that doesn't happen if you're not providing the results. Okay, so when you're not providing the results, you are going to be micromanaged. When you are starting in a new job, you're going to be micromanaged because otherwise you wouldn't know where to go and how to do it. So having a problem with temporary micromanagement, for example, is a bit of a problem. Plus you bad mouthing. Be very careful. When I feel the need to micromanage someone, it's usually because there's a performance issue. And what you're saying is that if you had a performance issue and your manager tried to help you, you didn't like it even more. Be careful, because this would make me think, that's not fair to the manager that would be trying to help her. And plus the manager didn't trust this person enough to sort of distance himself. It might be true or not, but remember, I'm the buyer, I'm the employer, so I'm always going to be alert on anything that could go wrong. Remember this, that's very, very important. Okay, so mistake number 4, and we're almost done, well done guys. Mistake number 4 is really sounding like you don't like your job. So many times I would interview people and they would have such a tone of voice where it's flat, it's like monotone. And it's like they're answering this question, probably they had it, this is their 5th interview maybe, and they answered the similar questions before, and they feel like bored. And you know what? Someone that I don't feel loves his job, passionately, I'm not sure I want to hire this person. I'm not sure I want to hire someone that, doesn't show me right off the hat that he's passionate about his job, because passion is energy and I'm hiring energy. Okay, so the facial expressions, the smile, the gesture, people forget to smile. They don't move. They just the facial expression betrays that they are actually bored and they don't necessarily like audit, sales, marketing, or whatever. Be very careful. Or sometimes the word that you use or you don't use. So let's say an example where I'm going to say, okay, so tell me about a time you had to deal with a very, very difficult colleague or client. There's so many things. You see that? That sucks big time, okay? Because immediately I was not enlightened by the challenge, okay? What I want to see is, oh, wow, that happens a lot, actually. It's one of the challenges I love the most, actually, when there's a disagreement, because I do believe there's positive conflict and negative conflict. I do believe there's positive tension and negative tension. I think positive tension are where company progresses, people are open, they challenge one another, and I think that's healthy. Negative tension is when it's ego driven. I remember once, and then you give the example. Okay, remember, always give examples. So it's very, very important. But you see, the way I perceive the question, the way I, reacted to the question shows that I'm having fun in my job, that I love my job, even if we're talking about challenges, problems, situations. Okay, be very, very careful with that. The energy that you bring in is very, very important. So when you sound like you don't like your job, when, it's not easy. Whoa. Did you see the energy? I'm detecting issues in the future and I don't want to deal with that, okay? Mistake number 5, and this is the final mistake. Well done, by the way, for sticking around. So the final mistake is really, really being super selfish. So in other words, asking selfish questions. You know, at the end of most job interviews, you will have questions. You will have questions like, so do you have any questions? And usually what people say is selfish oriented questions. So for example, they ask about the package. They ask about the salary, they ask about the holiday, or, they ask about the working hours. And you guys start at 8 and you finish at 3:30, is that correct? Well, all of these are selfish questions. You see, typical questions that I would expect from someone that says he's interested in working with me is, hey, tell me about your company culture. Hey, what's your background? Asking me where do I come from and what's my background. That's someone that's generally interested in me. Okay, so these are typical things that I want to see in a job interview where candidates fail sometimes. And these 5 mistakes are usually disqualifiers. Okay, so if you ask at the end about the salary or the working hours, don't even wait for a feedback. It's usually game over. Usually game over. I keep repeating this over the years, but I always find people that come at the end of the interview and I say, hey, do you have any questions? And they would go like, yeah, we didn't talk about the package. I'm like, I mean, of course we are going to talk about the package, but when the employer chooses to, and the fact that you're insisting and you want to bring this to the table, to the agenda, is not necessarily making the employer reassured that you have his best interest at heart, that you want to know a little bit more about him, etc., etc. Or sometimes, just an extension of this 5th mistake is to not ask selfish questions, but to say, I don't have any questions. Like you don't care. Of course you have any questions. You have questions. Think about it. Okay, what's their business model? How many income stream they have? How many? Just tell me. You do have questions. Of course you do have questions if you care enough. Okay, that's very, very important. That's pretty much it. Look, mistakes are normal. Mistakes are normal. When you do mistakes during job interviews, what's important is that you are making these mistakes. Oftentimes, I speak to so many candidates that have 5, 6, 7, 8 interviews with different companies, and they said no one wants to, there's too much competition, the market is difficult, the companies that don't get back to me. No, the very truth is you have not impressed. It doesn't matter. They're not wasting their time by asking you to come for an interview. The truth is you may have made some of these mistakes. In life, there are no mistakes, only lessons. So remember, if you realize that, oh, that's me, mistake number 2, or mistake number 3, or 5, or 1, or 4, if that's you, then now you know. There are no mistakes in life, only lessons. The worst part is when people keep on doing mistakes because they have no idea that they are making mistakes. So hopefully this video was useful to you guys. I really, really hope so. And mistakes are normal. Look, what's important is to not repeat them, because if you do repeat them, this is what's costing you. The fact that you fall once, it's fine. Now you know the way. Now you know how to avoid the obstacle, okay? But the fact that you constantly fall at the same place all the time and you're not realizing that this is a big mistake, that you keep doing it is going to cost you a lot, okay? The reason why I made this video is that I know you can't stop these mistakes if you don't know about them. So I thought, let me just share with you the 5 top mistakes that I've seen over the years in my recruitment experience and see if any could be of use. If that's interesting, please leave a comment, obviously, and feel free to share, like my video, because I'm really doing it for you guys. And that would be a good thank you from you if you do that. That's pretty much it. My name is Hamza Zawali. You can find much more videos on www.nameyourcareer.com. And feel free to join, obviously, to subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's called Name Your Career. And to like my page on Facebook, Name Your Career. My group on Facebook is called Name Your Career. And that's pretty much it. Thank you so much once again. And I will speak to you on the next video. Bye. Bye for now.